So yeah, let's get started with our panel. We're very excited to have all of these amazing folks here. Today's panel is going to be about how we at SMU and our different offices support faculty. I'll just go ahead and let our panelists introduce themselves. Jennifer, do you want to start?
Oh, okay, person with a mic. Let's just start. So I'm Jennifer Jordan. I'm the manager of SMU's online production services, and that means our in-house online course development team. I also am a multimedia specialist for our team, so I work with faculty to create videos and animations for our online courses.
And I am Mike Gesebrelassie. I am the academic technology director for the business school at SMU. I work as a liaison between the technology and the faculty. So I mostly work strategically with the Cox, the business school's leadership team, but also I work entirely embedded with some of these folks that you see here and the technical teams across campus. So I'm not an instructional designer, but I find myself a lot of times working with instructional designers. So I try to make that bridge that gap between the technical folks and then the non-technical, the leadership team, but also along the way finding solutions to embed into the classroom technologies.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Gyens, and I am an instructional systems coordinator here at SMU. So I work with our academic technology services team, and I work with our LMS, learning management system, which is Canvas. And I also work with helping to maintain and train faculty on how to use the various integrations and tools that we have at their disposal to kind of help with their teaching and learning. And I have a teaching background myself, and so that's really been helpful in kind of bridging the gap between technology and teaching and learning. So.
I'm Addy Tolliver. I am the Associate Director for the Center for Teaching Excellence at SMU. So I'm the only person in this panel that's not under IT, the Office of Information Technology. So I'm under the Office of Center for Teaching Excellence. And I started as an instructional designer, then I was a senior instructional designer, became the Associate Director last year. Because we have multiple hats and you learn how to do everything, right? And I've been at SMU for about 10 years now. But most of my job is to do consultations with faculty. Once we got reorged and the online services went under the IT umbrella, I started doing more of the face-to-face instruction and instructional design for face-to-face instruction. But my background was doing some online stuff as well. So.
I'm Roxane Paulson. I'm an instructional designer. I serve on the online production services team, and I work specifically with Perkins School of Theology.
Yeah, and I'm Prerna. I work as an instructional designer in the online production services team as well. And my job is to also make courses better for the faculty in a short way. So yeah, let's begin with our questions, and there are quite a few. So the first question to all of you is, what kinds of support do you think faculty need more of, and what steps could help meet those needs?
Okay, I'll start. So obviously, faculty needs will vary across the campus. Different schools are at different stages, especially here at SMU, in the online development, if you will, process. Specifically for my school, I find that my faculty really need a lot of help with technology. It's something they're not fully comfortable with. And so the way that I do my best to support them is to meet them where they are first, develop the rapport with them as educators and experts in their fields, and then slowly introduce different technology that we can incorporate to make their online courses engaging and help the students really feel immersed into the content versus just bringing PDFs online. And so I found that that's sometimes the case for me. But, like I said, we meet our faculty where we are, and that's what really helps get the ball rolling.
So to give a little more context, right? So the CT is an office that's under the provost. We serve all colleges at SMU. Lisa also is at an office that she supports all of the colleges and the institution. Then Roxane, she supports just one school, the School of Theology. And then you have Mike that he's in a position where each of the schools has one academic technology services director. So he represents the business school. And then you basically, she does it all. Jennifer's team serves all of the schools, institutions that want to go online, but through the SMU Global and Online office, not themselves. That's why Roxane is under Perkins, because they are doing their own thing. And then hers, they do through Global and Online. So when somebody wants to go online, they get permission to Global Online and then sent to her team, and then Perna is under her. See? Does that make sense? So I'm not doing a lot of stuff on online, so my needs are a little different. Even though a faculty member, if I have a relationship with them, they can come to my office, they can provide some support on a question related to online teaching. My needs lately have been more on AI, which there's a lot of overlap with what I do and then Mike's teams does, like the ATSDs, like the Technology Services Director, and I see Faye in the back, and I see the new one. Hi, new guy. He just joined us to represent the Simmons School of Education, but like there's a little overlap, and those are the needs currently, is helping faculty integrate AI intentionally and help them with the pedagogy to motivate the students to do the work themselves and not rely on technology to do the work and thinking for them, and not claiming the work of AI as their own. So that has been my biggest need in my center.
To confirm, I work with the entire campus, with all of the different schools, faculty all across the board. And to echo what Roxane had mentioned, different faculty have different needs because they're teaching different content, they have different teaching styles, and they have different schools. And so the focus and the needs are really quite diverse. So what we have found is that being able to stay in communication with faculty and with the deans, and working directly with not just the ATSDs like Mike, but with the instructional design team as well, just making sure that we really have a pulse on what faculty is needing, what they're seeing, how they're experiencing, and working with the technology and tools we already have in place to kind of determine maybe what improvements need made, what additional trainings need to be offered. And really that key there, though, is communication and continuing to build relationships and rapport with the faculty in particular, so that they feel understood and heard, and they know where to go when they have questions.
All right, so as Addy mentioned, I'm overseeing or have my hand in all online courses across SMU's campus. So one of my roles as manager of OPS is that I'm actually overseeing the Quality Matters review of courses that are not just produced by our in-house team, but also courses that are produced either independently by professors or schools that are working with third-party course developers. And so in doing that, we've realized that faculty sometimes, especially those working independently or with these third-party partners, have a really hard time understanding what the quality matter review standards are, what the review process is, and then how to make the revisions in a timely way. And so some things that we've done to kind of mediate these issues is we actually had an external partner volunteer to have their IDs that work with our school QM certified, which is awesome and has helped a lot in, the feedback and the issues that we were seeing in those courses. Our in-house team, all the instructional designers and the multimedia specialists are all QM certified as well. We even had some ATSDs get QM certified so they can speak more to faculty who are developing courses independently with QM standards in mind. And then another thing we've done is we have midpoint meetings in the development process with me, where I come in and sit in with those professors and the people working with the third-party course developers, and I treat it like a mini QM review. So I'm going in and we're downloading PDFs and running accessibility checks on those, on the PowerPoints, checking for transcripts, checking to see if YouTube captions are auto-generated or not, and just flagging things like that, in addition to the big ones of like, are there measurable objectives? Do things align? Are there rubrics? All of those big heavy hitters that typically cause courses to fail QM, we're pointing out at the midpoint rather than saving it to the end when faculty are kind of scrambling to get their courses done in the last 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden they feel like they have all these revisions to make. So we're trying to kind of firm up that process and bring that feedback to them a little bit sooner. And then the other thing we're doing is we've created some, cheat sheets on how to use AI to make those revisions faster. So, using an AI rubric generator or AI transcript generators, things like that, that can help address certain standards, and creating that in a nice little document that we can package and send out broadly to faculty to just make it seem less intimidating and like it takes less time to make those changes. And I know y'all are going to talk way more about QM later, but I think that that's a big area that we're pushing right now at SMU, is to just make sure that all online courses, no matter who they're developed with, are meeting that certain standard, and that students can have the same expectation no matter who like the course developer was.
All right, so most of us being in the technology space, the first thing when we think about faculty support is, they need yet another technology tools or technology support. So I think from my standpoint, the way I think about what faculty needs support is to not lead with technology or tools first, but to start with, the fundamental questions of, all of us have a consultation means for faculty to reach us. So as part of the consultation, I always try to dig deeper and ask, what's the problem? What's the issues? What are you hearing from the students? And then what that does typically is it lets the faculty to let their guards down and also be more communicative and actually understand what some of their pushbacks are to adapt to certain things, right? So as a way of looking at what faculty needs support, what I realized is, I think most importantly, when you think about, for example, even AI as a subject of topic, they need ways to get these support solutions to be more time-saving oriented, right? So one of the things that they worry about is, if I'm using this tool, is it going to take more time out of my teaching time? So you have to first, get over that hurdle. The second thing is, what I realized, they need more clarity, right? So we're very technical. So I find myself sometimes being too farther away from the fundamental issues because I get excited about the technology. And I realize, I lose the faculty in that fundamental question. So I think for me, understanding and having that clarity why, for example, in the AI case, right? And then communicating it to the faculty, how then it would become beneficial to them, it kind of goes back to the time save and the reason for why. And then finally, it's more finding ways to build that confidence. I think most faculty are willing to adopt any tools and technologies, right? But I think at the end of the day, they face the 60 pairs of eyes and the 120 in the classrooms, and building that confidence is really where, as part of my one-on-one with faculty, that's one of the support that I provide. And so I think during that consultation, understanding the, clarity why we're pushing certain things, and understanding what their issues are from the feedback they're getting from students, and then bringing it together and making my support sort of more tangible to that, typically comes down to that. So I would say feedback, and then clarity, and then sort of like confidence is probably one of the few ways to lead for supporting faculty.
That's a lot there. So yeah, I'll just go on. Like, I think a lot of you answered the second question that I had, but so I'm going to go over to the third question, which is, can you share an example of a successful collaboration between you and faculty that positively impacted students?
You have the mic.
Oh, no. So speaking to a room full of instructional designers, I'm not sure how much of you are kind of cross-trained and do like multimedia editing for them or not, or if y'all have your own multimedia specialist you can go and share this with. But I had a specific situation where I had a chemistry professor who said that the biggest critique that he gets in his courses is that students cannot read his handwriting. And so, he was like so I looked at the videos and I was like, your audio's great. Instead of you re-recording and trying to focus really hard on how you write, I will just take these lectures, so I would watch them recreate the visual chemistry problems in PowerPoint, and then edited new videos with kind of like timing the text and the things that were on the slide with his speech. So that way he didn't have to re-record anything. We could use his original audio, but then that helped students, increase their engagement in the course because they were less distracted by the fact that they couldn't understand like what was being seen on the screen. And then, therefore that increases their overall engagement. And then, as I mentioned, just, working to get AI transcription tools and have more transcripts in courses helps make them more accessible to diverse learners. And so that has been another one that where I feel like we're having a big impact for those students right now.
So I think this one is easy because it goes right back to what I said just a few minutes ago. So one example, in fact, it's in mid-progress right now, is we all, as instructional designers, try to revamp a course entirely, right? Or at least encourage faculty to refresh their Canvas course page. So most recently, a faculty approached me and said, I got not a so positive response from my students. Well, let's take a step back. So as part of my consultation, I help faculty to consider introducing feedback from students on the first week when they first, because typically the course feedbacks happen at the end of the year. So it doesn't really help the course, right? It helps the school evaluating the faculty and how the course goes. So one of the things that I've been pushing faculty to consider or try is create a simple feedback question, allowing the students to know that it's anonymous, using like Qualtrics, for example, and then be more transparent to let them know the reason you're doing the feedback is to adjust from week to week. So one of the faculty right now have done that during the previous class and came back and said, okay, I've got a feedback where I really need to redo my course, right? So then the first thought was, let's completely revamp the course. And I said, well, let's take a step back. So we said, let's, go over what some of the concerns were raised by students. And it's the way the contents were created. This is an in-person class, so it doesn't have to follow like an online course design. But at the end of the day, the students were having a hard time finding the key resources and understanding the course layout. So we went ahead and just created just simple modular forms, and we took a couple of his TAs to do a test run. So long story short, a faculty that was not willing to do a complete reset ended up just from a simple module update to now finishing 2 courses entirely from scratch. And now he's actually working on while teaching his summer course on his fall courses. That typically is a much harder thing to do for a faculty because they're used to doing this rinse and repeat process. But the key thing was, one, believing that feedback is going to be beneficial, but now he has something that he can tie back to, because going into the summer, one of the strategies that we have is he's going to make it very clear to them that he worked really hard to make sure that the course is easy for them to digest, but also the information is easily discoverable on the Canvas course page, right? Another thing that we did to supplement is to record a 2 to 3 minute video that walks them through what the expectations are, what the intentions are as a module 0 at the beginning of the course, just to see how that's going to be received. And then we're going to touch back and then see how that works. So I think this repeated feedback loop, you can see that because one, it's directly visible when the students provide that feedback, and then the faculty then can act on that. So that would be a good collaboration example.
I'll touch briefly on the concept of different teaching styles. We know that learners have different different learning styles, but there's different teaching styles as well. And I know that when I was a teacher, I liked to talk a lot and being able to have a course that is hybrid or online, you are often uploading videos and requiring students to watch these long videos. And so one of the tools that we were able to integrate, it's actually an interactive video tool that allows instructors to include questions for checking for understanding as you go. And there are a lot of different question types that can be included. You can have forced pauses, you can jump students to different places in the videos, and it really has allowed instructors who are either teaching online exclusively or doing hybrid learning to really add some more interactivity to a course that is otherwise students just, consuming material in a way. And so it allows for a little more engaged learning in terms of even taking notes within the video itself. And so being able to have that as a tool for instructors to use if they want it is really helpful, but also being able to see all the different ways it can be used and allowing teachers to be more flexible with the way they design their courses. You don't even have to be a completely online course to use this tool in particular, but it's been a really, really fun way to enhance interactivity in course design.
So I've been here at SMU for almost 10 years and been doing this for a hot minute. So there's a lot of, things that we do as consulting with faculty that hopefully trickle down to the students and make the student experience better. But there's one example in particular that was really easy and something that we do as instructional designers is looking at feedback from student evaluations and a faculty member getting a lot of reports from their students that the course was not organized. So as simple as going to a Canvas course and we have this tool called City Labs or Design Tools from City Labs that allows us to create little templates. So I already had like a template design, bringing in the template into the course, making sure that the homepage has the information that's needed, like on the first page of the syllabus, basically, that they can easily access, that the modules were properly structured and organized, and all of the links were there, and all of the assignments have full instructions and rubrics. I mean, it's the basic, like it's basic ID work that we did for a face-to-face course, but significantly changed the course, and the student feedback at the end of the semester was just completely different. So student evaluation, the points went up significantly, so it's good for the faculty member because then when they're going for tenure and promotion, they can show that. But I mean, I also have a lot of examples of, part of my job, I do teaching observation. So I go to people's classes and observe them and give them pointers on the things that they're doing well, or, some pointers on how they can improve things. So those are usually easy ways for them to see like tangible, changes at the end, because then after observation, I'd say, hey, these are things you're doing well, continue doing, but here's are things that you can improve. And if they just try to improve a couple of those things, they get better feedback from the students normally, so.
Being an instructional designer, I have a few different examples that I could share with you. I mean, some of them are really cool and interesting where we have explored different type of technology and even worked with our OIT partners to develop games using ChatGPT. But sometimes it just goes back to the basics. Sometimes it's just helping the faculty look at the course from the student lens and really clarifying instructions, making sure that grading criteria is clear, and those smaller elements that sometimes are overlooked by our faculty, or they're far removed from being students, and therefore it's no longer on their radar. And so I find that, for example, I had a faculty that has a very unique teaching philosophy that is kind of hard to bring online. And so, really partnering with him and having conversations, helping him understand why what we do is important and how will it impact the student experience now that the course is fully online versus in person. And so, again, really, I said it earlier, meeting faculty where they are can make a really big impact on our students as well.
Awesome. So now that we've spoken about successful collaboration, I think it's time to switch gears and think about what are some common challenges you think faculty face, especially when integrating all of the new technologies that we have, and how have we supported them in overcoming these challenges? So also just like from the chat, some feedback, please introduce yourself while answering so that they can put a name to speaking.
Addy Tolliver, hi. Common challenges that faculty face when integrating new technologies is, I think that they're so accustomed to being experts that it's challenging to go back into a novice role. So the frustration that happens when going back to a novice role is like one of the common challenges that I see. So I try to always remember or remind them that we are all lifelong learners and that it is okay to be the expert in the subject matter and not know certain things. And, I'll try to be patient. I learned a lot about parenting, being an instructional designer and working with faculty, because you really have to be learn patience. And so, no, it's okay. You can do this. Give a lot of encouragement, and ultimately, the rewards when they finally get it, because the stuff that we do, they're not very complex, but sometimes because they're experts, they get to the end so quickly in their fields and whatever their area of expertise, that sometimes we need to remind them that it might take a little longer because they're not experts yet, but with practice, they will get there. So that's my.
Lisa Gines, instructional systems coordinator here at SMU. And as a former teacher myself, I taught for about 8 years across both high school and university. And I taught with a lot of different, I worked with a lot of different LMS systems and tools and technology in all these different schools. And really between having to do lesson planning and grading and attending required meetings, sometimes learning a new technology or attending a training for a new technology was the last thing that I and my peers wanted to do. And so you're not just trying to help instructors bridge a technology gap, you're also trying to, you're fighting for their time, essentially, and understanding that and being patient and flexible around that as well is really important. And so I know that if you are an instructor and what you've been doing so far has worked so far, you're not always going to have that motivation to learn a new tool, especially if it's not something that's necessarily required. It's just something that's being touted as a tool that will help improve your teaching practice or make your class more fun and engaging. And so getting instructor buy-in is really important. And again, I'll go back to just emphasizing that relationship building with faculty, establishing a rapport, establishing trust, and getting your name in front of them so that they know who you are and where you can go when they have questions is very important. So here at SMU in our department, we offer trainings, we record them, and we offer a whole slew of service pages and documentation and video tutorials and things that instructors can visit when they have the time. And then if they have additional questions, there's information on the pages so that they know where to go and who to reach out to. So we really do try to not only offer trainings at multiple points during the year, but also make sure that instructors have those resources online when they need them. And we also have a monthly newsletter we put out with updates. And we optimistically believe everyone on campus reads it every single month. So.
Jennifer Jordan, Manager of Online Production Services here at SMU. And so one of my answers is similar to Lisa in just the lack of time. I think that is a huge barrier that faculty face when working with us to develop online courses. And so my perspective on that, our team's role is really to reduce that burden as much as possible. And so asking them, any questions we need and any information we need for them, and then we can set up the technical side if that's a barrier for them. And so that's something that we can help with on that front. And then also just reminding them how AI can be a tool to help save them time, especially when it comes to, again, addressing QM revisions. And then the other one is just fear of the unknown. So I think that right now we're working on a Master of Legal Studies program. So we're working with a lot of SMEs who aren't necessarily faculty, and maybe it's been a while since they've been in law school themselves or even in undergrad. And so they don't know what kinds of tools we have integrated in Canvas. They don't know, what tools help increase engagement in courses. So it's really on our team to, show them examples of other courses and the tools in action to help kind of remove that barrier and address that fear and say, again, hey, we are here to set you up. We can do all the technical parts. You just give us the content. You tell us what kinds of questions you want us to pop up during videos or if you want them graded or not, and we will take it from there. But I think that that's another element is just kind of, removing that unknown part of the fear of the unknown.
So I think one of the challenge for faculty is in a way like change, right? So they teach the same course multiple times, and there's a certain sequence that they typically follow, and so there's that dance that we always have to do, to figure out like how do we introduce this thing, right? So I use the consultation time that I have, extensively to my advantage, but I usually I carve out time to build that trust and to sort of like make them understand and believe that there's sort of like that collaboration between myself and the faculty to sort of like that same end goal. And that generally works once you get past that sort of friction point where why do I have to introduce now a completely new thing to the same reason that everyone here mentioned, right? It adds time to their work. They don't know how to predict how it's going to play out in the classrooms and things like that. So for me, knowing that change is a big challenge, I have to approach it more methodically or deliberately just to sort of like build that trust and help them understand that this is a collaboration process. And then once you get past that, I think it becomes much easier to then continue to work. So one of the things that I do, for example, right now, in addition to what we all do as a group through the workshops, newsletters that we send out every month, more targeted depending on their technical levels. But I joke saying that I meet with the faculty as a one-on-one more often than the department chairs do with their departments. But that frequency of being visible to the faculty usually also helps to get your message out as quickly as possible. And so I have a space where now I created this thing where I call, have coffee with Mike. So they'll come in and they don't have to talk about classrooms or any issues, but we just talk about, coffee or travel and things like that. But it always leads to the same problem, which is I got to talk about this, this class or this course. When they raise it, it's great because then now they're willing to talk about it, right? So I think I'm not saying that all faculty have that problem, but in order for you to encourage them to change to something that's going to have a much bigger impact, you really want their buy-in, and the way to get it is truly like through the trust and that collaboration mentality.
Awesome. So yeah, in the interest of time, I think we'll ask one more question and then open it out to the audience to ask more questions to us. So the last question is, how do you see the role of academic technology and teaching support evolving over the next few years at SMU, particularly considering like AI, the hybrid models, and digital equity?
Oh, I have the mic, so okay, we'll go first. The pace of change right now is pretty wild, and if I know that I sometimes feel overwhelmed with the amount of new information, new tools, and things that are coming out, and so trying to also keep in mind that if we're feeling that pressure, the faculty are feeling it even more. And one of the things that is exciting is essentially being able to, I think our role is kind of shifting from being tool experts alone to really being collaborators in teaching and course design. And the changes in AI, hybrid learning, equity of access, all of these things require a bit of it's a paradigm shift really that's going on right now. And I think we still handle support tickets in terms of training and helping with problem solving here and there, but also we're starting to kind of co-think with faculty a bit more. Like, how can I use AI ethically in my course? How can I teach my students to use AI ethically? How can I help my students enter into a workforce that is now embracing using AI? And so being able to help instructors with modeling those things in their courses so that students feel more prepared when they graduate is really important. And honestly, I think it's a really exciting time to be in this space.
I'll go. I think that what Lisa said is true, right? Like, things are moving at a very fast pace, and I think that we are all working together to figure out what is going on. So I think it's a good time, but I think that the roles are also blurring, right? Like I think that before, particularly at SMU, things were very siloed. And I think that there's even more collaboration between our offices and what we do together, which before we were like, okay, each person has a role, but I feel like the roles are blurring now, which I think is a good thing, and it makes us versatile, right? We need to know all of these different things, and collaboration is good. So I'm pretty excited about what's ahead. But I think because we're all learning together and figure out what these tools can do, particularly talking about AI now, it's a time for collaboration. So it's pretty exciting. And there's a lot of faculty at SMU still, they're very hesitant about what AI is and can do for education. But I think that there's a whole another group that is very excited about the possibilities. So that's kind of cool to engage with those groups. But we know that, I mean, we've been doing this. There's always with MOOCs, everybody was like, some people were excited, some people said, oh, it's going to destroy everything. It didn't destroy everything. So same thing with AI. I think that some people think it's the end of the world, and some people think, oh, it's pretty exciting. And some people are like, oh, we're going to be out of jobs in 5 years. So navigating the emotions has been cool too. So I think that there's going to be a lot of more counseling in our roles, based on the future of academic technologies. So yeah, maybe look for extra specializations.
I guess we might start working on our LPC, make sure we have that ready. I think that kind of echoing what Addy said regarding collaboration, I think given that we live, tech is the norm. It's everywhere. It's in our pockets, in our hands, 24/7. Especially as newer educators come in, I think we'll be able to partner with them differently. We'll have the tools that we need. We just need to make sure we know how to use them and how to implement them into. I think we'll be able to have a larger vision of what courses could look like online, and create more immersive products for our students. I think that's really what it might look like over the next several years.
Should we just open for questions? Oh. I was texting her, I was like, oh, verbose group. We might need like more time for questions.
All right. Yeah. Sure.
So Jane from the chat is asking, how do you kindly and firmly remind instructors to keep direction short, concise, and in order, especially for ESL students who are quote unquote old school?
For me, I sometimes will reword and make the recommendation before hitting save and say, what do you think about this? I think it's a great 1, 2, 3-step process for your students, and they'll understand your assignment more clearly, and they'll be able to follow your directions and meet your expectations faster.
Well, one easy way to use AI for stuff is to grab this and run through the AI and say, how can you make this more concise for me? So also guide them, hey, you know how AI can be helpful and make things efficient? This is very long. How about we run through AI and see what they, offer as suggestions? And then oftentimes it's decent enough that, we can use.
I was going to suggest something similar with AI. I did teach ESL at one point, and I found that the best lessons were the shortest. So there's something to be said for succinctness and being more to the point. Because so the question was advice for how to talk to an instructor about making So I think in terms of the conversation itself. If that relationship is in place and that trust is there, I think there's space for being open and honest, and if they're open to suggestions, just making the suggestion. But it's something that can be delicate depending on the personalities involved. And so I actually quite liked Roxane's suggestion and saying like, well, here's something, like you pre-write something essentially and say, what do you think about this? But ultimately the goal is student learning. Right. And if you are seeing something an instructor is doing that maybe is not serving the students as well as it could, there's always room for improvement. Teachers are learners too. Teachers are learners too. And that is something that I always stand by. When I talked to my students in the past, I would always remind them, like, this is a two-way street. I'm learning from you as much as you're learning from me. And so being open to recommendations and suggestions is a really important part of being an instructor. So it's, again, depending on the personalities, it can be a tricky walk. But yeah, keeping the students at the forefront, I think, is the most important piece. Yeah. Any other questions?
No, that's okay. Contact information.
Yeah, go ahead.
So let's see if I get the question. You know, at Baylor, there are different offices like an academy for teaching and learning, which is similar to the Center for Teaching Excellence. You have another office that does more of the online production. So how do you talk to faculty about which office does what, where to go for which kind of help? So on my end, yes. So what I've done is just delegate to people, right? It's like, could I provide support for a technology tool like a Poll Everywhere or something that is more technology related? I know how to use those tools, so I could spend my time doing that, but I usually don't do that. Say, hey, you should contact your academic technology services director. I tend to delegate and send them to the right place. But if it's a faculty member that I've had a relationship with before and they happen to at that time be designing an online course and they just have a quick question about, hey, I have this activity, what do you think? I might provide some feedback. But you know, if it is always something a little more intensive, I tend to just contact your people, you know?
I think in my experience, I'm semi-new to SMU in that I joined in October. It took me a little while to kind of understand where all the puzzle pieces fit together. And so obviously reaching out to figure out who's over what. And then what I've done for my faculty during our kickoff meetings for our online development is created kind of a flow chart. It showed if you have this question, this is who you reach out to. Or we also have the option to submit a support ticket online, and it'll get routed to the right individual.
Sure. So yeah, so a lot of questions about online just come to me as the manager of our in-house team. And what we do is we have a form that we have faculty fill out that offers like, hey, I just want a multimedia consultation. I'm interested in recording a few videos for my class. It's not even online, but I just want something professional to get, people started. Or an ID consult, or I'm interested in developing an online course, and then I can reach out to them and talk to them about the process and the steps that are involved in that. And so, yeah, we try to kind of protect our internal IDs from doing those kinds of like consultations unless they have the time. So it's kind of funneled through me so that way I can make sure that people's workloads are balanced, and then also they're not being flooded with requests and feeling like they're having to overcommit and help design every single course on campus.
Any other questions? Awesome. So yeah, thanks. Sorry, I didn't see that. Yeah. Okay.
How are you handling course ADA compliance in your?
So we have a couple of tools in place that help with running scans of the courses and flagging information. And there are settings involved with what gets flagged, how hard. And it's, and when I say we have a couple, I mean that there's one that's like, built into the LMS, and then there's additional tools that we've opted into just because we were seeing that more was needed, essentially. And so this is something that is ongoing, but it is something that we're very, we are excited about the possibilities, the capabilities, things that can be scanned for, scanning not just course content, but color contrast, things like that. If captions have been uploaded, if this picture is, if it has alt text available, things like that. So really making it as, maybe not as easy as possible, but as simplified and processed as possible for instructors to see what changes they may or may not need to make to their course. Quick answer.
And then on the QM side, Standard 8 deals all with accessibility. And so we're just like, that really helps us in having those conversations with faculty about this is why your videos need captions. This is why they need transcripts. This is why this website will not work. Or you need to make sure that you're creating some sort of supplementary document to describe those images on that website that don't have alt text for tables and graphs and charts and things like that. And then we've been relying a lot on the ASU tools. So the ASU alt text generator, the ASU rubric generator, but specifically for accessibility, that alt text generator is really helpful, especially for those math or chemistry courses where they're solving problems. And you can just take a screenshot of their video, upload it, and it can give you an alt text description. So that way we can make our transcripts even more accessible for those learners. So yeah, that's been really, really helpful and a great way to, I think, move the conversation forward with faculty. The Arizona State University, they have an alt text generator. So Google that, should pop right up for you. They also have a rubric generator.
Awesome. If there are no more questions, I think we can finish this panel. Thank you to all of our panelists for coming here and being here, and thank you for your continued work to make SMU awesome, but also our courses awesome.